I think this topic of conversation is extremely relevant to students going through the education system, but could also apply to professors on the other end of that. And I just wanted to share an experience that I had the other day. In one of my finance classes, we were doing it's a financial modeling class, right? And the basis of a lot of finance is rooted in statistics. And I think the reason, so basically, we were building out a model, we were using Excel, and our professor was asking questions about statistics to get to, the core fundamental properties of what we were learning. And he was like cold calling questions, just being like, "Hey, what does the t-test mean, or what does the t-score mean for, or the t what does the t-score mean in a regression, right?" And not if you don't take classes like that all the time, the thing with college and the thing with school is you're always changing subjects. You always have like five different subjects to focus on all at one time. So even if you do, or if you did at one point know what the t-score was in a regression, and what it meant, and what a good number was and what a bad number was, even if you did learn that at one time and at one point in your life, if you haven't been keeping up with that and haven't been using that in your everyday life, then you're gonna probably forget what that means. So basically, our brains aren't like a computer where we can just go. We have a whole bunch of like different hard drives with different folders of like, oh yeah, just have to go to my statistics folder and then go under, two sample t-test and then find out what the definition of a t-score is. I think I've seen a study somewhere where they will ask somebody to draw a dollar, what a dollar looks like by memory, and then they kind of get the general idea. There's the face in the middle with a circle around it, and then like the one in the corner and the other corner. So people get a general idea of what a dollar looks like, but it kind of just shows the fact that we don't have like mental images stored in our brain. It's more or less just like a recollection of a memory or an image. We can't just recall that memory in a picture perfect setting, and a picture, and we can't formulate in our brains that image precisely. And so when they gave the other part of the experiment, was they gave this test group a real dollar bill afterwards, and then they told them to draw it with the dollar bill in front of them, and the pictures were night and day difference. Maybe I'll try to find a picture somewhere. But anyways, the point of that is that your brain will only there are limits to your brain. That's kind of the title of the video, and that's what I was trying to ultimately get to, is that there's limits on your brain about the things that you surround yourself with, the things that you're consuming. So if you're always consuming things about, I don't know, maybe say you're consuming things about marketing all the time, and then you don't even really touch statistics at all. If somebody asks you that question of what does a t-score mean in a regression, you're not going to know what that means. But the professor will think, are these kids stupid? They don't know what the t-score in a regression is. And that's because from their perspective, all they're doing all day every day is doing statistics, doing regressions, and they're surrounded by these things and keeping up with these things. And sure, maybe they have some reasonability to expect their students to be on top of the material and to know what these things are, especially since they're kind of like core fundamental properties. But I think it just illustrates the idea that, your mind has limits to what it can store, the capacity of it. And if you're not surrounding yourself with certain things, you're not going to know, what people in different realms are talking about. So I guess that can translate to some sort of expertise. Like if you constantly surround yourself with a certain thing, say you are super interested in the technology space, or maybe in the healthcare space, and you always surround yourself with things that are going on in that area, current events, you know, how different things are advancing in those different industries, then you will be very accustomed to that specific set of knowledge. But if you say somebody talks to you about an oil company and you have not even read up or been surrounded or heard of anything about oil for the past 10 years, you're not going to know where to start with that. So I guess we can take a lesson from this rather than it just being a little rant from me about how your brain has limits and we can't store everything with a picture perfect recollection. So I think the way that you can leverage this is if you have a specific interest, something that you're really involved in, or maybe something that you want to get involved in, you can use that whole framing of the things that you consume. That's where like that whole idea of you're the average of your five friends kind of comes from, because you spend so much time around them that's how your personality develops and becomes expressed. So instead, how to leverage this, I think we can take an approach where if you have something that you're trying to achieve or some goal that you're setting out for yourself, you can be familiar and become like an expert in that space if you devote your time to consuming information relevant to that space and keeping up to date, being aware of what's happening with that. And maybe that could expose you to some blind sides of not knowing a whole comprehensive kind of view, but I think that is still a strength to be had, is to have some sort of specialized knowledge like that. So surround yourself in the things you're interested in, because and then you can't use that as a weakness or an excuse to why you maybe didn't know what was happening in some other area of the space, but you can use it as some leverage and as a tool to get some expertise, some specialized knowledge. So that's going to be the video for today. Hope it wasn't just a weird off the wall topic, but yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Remember to stay on target.